When these hikers spotted a lone horse deep in the woods, they were stunned. What on earth was a horse doing way out there? But as they moved closer, they saw something they never expected. Come along with us to see how it all unfolded. A lot of people know the heartbreak of losing a pet. Sometimes a dog slips out of a yard or a cat darts through an open door, and suddenly they're gone. It's an awful feeling, not knowing where they are or what's happening to them. Are they hungry, scared, or hurt? Are they somewhere wishing you were there? It's a heavy weight to carry. While it's common to worry about losing small pets, owners of bigger animals like horses don't usually think they'll face the same fear. But as today's story shows, it can happen. And when it does, it's just as heartbreaking. Susan Crawford, who lives in York, Pennsylvania, loved nothing more than taking adventures with her horse. Her horse, a chestnut Paso Fino named Play-Doh, was her trusted partner. Together they traveled to different parks and trails to train for competitions. Susan and Play-Doh were as skilled as any team out there, but even the most experienced riders can find themselves in tough situations. One day, Susan and a friend decided to explore a new trail they didn't know very well. The area was thick with trees, and when they reached a fork in the trail, they weren't sure which way to go. They couldn't see far down either path, so they just picked one and hoped for the best. Unfortunately, they chose the wrong side and ended up at a dead end. The ground was a little steep, with a sharp drop-off nearby. As they tried to turn around, part of the trail crumbled under them. Susan and Play-Doh began to slide. Play-Doh lost his footing, his back legs buckling, and Susan fell off hard, the air rushing out of her chest. The fall startled Play-Doh, and he bolted into the trees. Susan's friend made sure she was okay, then quickly ran after the scared horse. But Play-Doh was fast, and he disappeared into the thick woods before anyone could catch up. Luckily, Play-Doh was still wearing his bright neon-colored tack, and Susan was hopeful someone would spot him easily. But she wasn't about to leave it to chance. She was determined to do everything she could to bring her horse home. As soon as she got back to camp, Susan talked to every person she could find and called the police to ask for help. She jumped straight into action, making a Facebook page to spread the word and printing posters to put up anywhere and everywhere. Susan wasn't going to rest until Play-Doh was safe again. Some local news stations even picked up the story about Play-Doh going missing. In no time, tons of people came together to try and help Susan find her horse. Among them were the Howard County, Maryland Police and the Maryland State Police. Folks from the outdoor community also stepped up big time. The League of Maryland Horsemen Club joined the search, along with regular hikers and bikers who were out in the park. The Horsemen's Club even brought extra horses so that more people could get out on the trails every day. They tried to cover every area they possibly could. But even with so many eyes out there, no one spotted Play-Doh. There weren't even signs that his tack had snagged on anything or any clue he'd passed through. It was crushing for Susan. She wanted to try absolutely everything. They even reached out to people who had drones and helicopters, hoping to search from the sky. But the forest was just too thick to make that work. Not knowing where her horse was tore Susan up inside. She could barely sleep. Every morning she woke up hoping Play-Doh had somehow made his way back to camp. But he never did. She walked the trail over and over again where she had last seen him, but there was no sign of him. Their Facebook posts were shared thousands of times, and the local news kept covering the story. People spread the word far and wide. Susan's phone rang nonstop. Some people called just to check in, while others offered help. Then, about 10 days after Play-Doh went missing, Susan finally got the call she had been praying for. Someone said they had found a horse. She didn't waste a second. She jumped in her car and rushed to the farm where the horse was being kept. From a distance, the horse looked just like Play-Doh. Same color, same size. But when Susan got close, her heart sank. It wasn't him. This horse had actually wandered off from a nearby farm. His owners were thrilled to have him back, but it didn't bring Susan any closer to finding Play-Doh. It had now been 12 long days since Play-Doh disappeared. A few miles away, about 3 miles or around 4.8 kilometers, at another hiking trail, three friends were getting ready for a hike. Emily Perryman, Vlad Konstantinov, and David Sugar were heading out from the Woodstock Inn. Before they started their walk, they noticed a lost horse sign posted at the inn. As they hit the trail, they kept joking around about it. They couldn't figure out how someone could lose an entire horse. They were sure by now the horse must have been found, so they laughed about it and moved on to other conversations. They had been walking for a while when they suddenly heard noises coming from the thick bushes nearby. At first, they were a little spooked, not sure if they should go check it out. But curiosity got the better of them. Laughing nervously, they grabbed their flashlights, just in case. They crept closer, not sure what they were about to find. And then they saw him. Standing quietly between the trees was a horse. They quickly looked around, thinking maybe a rider was nearby, but the horse was completely alone. He was stuck between the trees, tangled by his reins, and they were able to walk right up to him. Even though his saddle and tack were still on, they had shifted and didn't fit right anymore. The horse looked really shaken and scared, but the three friends spoke gently to him, trying to calm him down. Carefully, they cut him loose. They couldn't believe it. It was the horse from the missing posters. They led him back toward the inn, amazed that after 12 days on his own, he was still able to walk. Right away, they knew they had to call his owner. When Susan's phone rang and she saw the call was from New Jersey, she hesitated. She had gotten so many calls by now, and most had led to dead ends. She almost didn't answer, but something in her said not to give up hope. The call was fuzzy, but she could make out enough. Emily was saying they had found her horse. Susan's heart raced. She was scared to believe it, scared it might be another mistake. But she had to go. When she arrived, all her fears melted away. It really was Play-Doh. As soon as he saw her, Play-Doh came right up and dropped his head onto her shoulder. It was like he was telling her he was just as thankful to be found. It felt like a miracle. After everything that could have gone wrong, being lost, getting injured, or worse, somehow Play-Doh had survived. And not only that, when they checked him over, they found something even more unbelievable. Despite everything he had been through, Play-Doh was still in pretty good shape. He had some cuts and scrapes where the tack had rubbed him raw, and a bigger cut on his leg, but overall he was doing amazingly well. He wasn't even very thin or dehydrated, probably thanks to the lush plants and water sources in the park. Thanks to the kindness of so many people, Susan and Play-Doh were finally reunited. Before long, Play-Doh was back to doing what he loved best, riding the trails alongside Susan. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories just like this one.